I never thought I'd be one of those guys posting on some relationship advice subreddit, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been married to Lisa for about 8 years now. We met in college, and honestly, I thought we had a good thing going, steady, comfortable, predictable. She's a fiery, bitchy woman with a sharp tongue and an even sharper temper, but I loved her for how fiercely she defended what she wanted. We built a life together, and I genuinely believed we were solid. At least I did until about 3 months ago. Things started to feel different, little things. She became more irritable, snapping at me over stupid stuff and canceling plans last minute. I figured it was stress, maybe work or her period, whatever. She's always been touchy when she's upset, but lately she'd roll her eyes or give me these cold stares that felt like they could cut glass. Still, I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe she was just tired. Then last month, I started noticing little inconsistencies. Her phone kept buzzing at odd hours, more than usual. She'd hide it under the pillow or quickly swipe away messages when I entered the room. She also started insisting she needed to work late more often, claimed she was networking at industry trade shows for her job. I didn't think much of it at first. She has a good job, she travels a lot, but something about her behavior just felt off. One day, I decided to peek at her phone when she was in the shower. Nothing sinister, just curiosity. Because I'd caught her lying so many times lately, I was convinced she was hiding something. I found texts, mostly from her boss, but then I saw a few message threads with some guy named Jake. I didn't recognize the number, but the tone of those messages was different, flirty, a little too intimate. It wasn't just about work stuff. There were references to meeting up at the trade show last week, plans for dinner, and even a sneaky "can't wait to see you in person." My stomach dropped. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How could she do this? How many times had she lied? I kept scrolling, more messages hidden deep in her conversation history. She's been seeing this guy on and off for months. I'd bet my house on it. That's when I knew I had to confront her. There was no way I could keep pretending everything was normal. Not anymore. I sat on the edge of the bed, heart pounding like a drum, trying to process what I just uncovered. It was one thing to suspect she was sneaking around, but reading those messages made it real. Lisa was cheating on me. And not just a little flirtation here and there. This was full-blown, secret affair-level stuff. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly furious. I couldn't believe I had been so blind. I waited until she came home from whatever networking event she claimed was all about making connections. When she walked through the door, she looked tired but a little more aggressive than usual. Maybe she could sense something was wrong. I didn't talk right away. I just stared. Then I asked her, "Who's Jake?" Her face froze. The bitchy smirk she always had when she was about to lie curled on her lips. She blinked a few times, trying to act clueless, but I saw right through it. "What are you talking about, Mike? You're imagining things," she spat. That defiance, that quick denial, it made me even angrier. I pulled out my phone and showed her the messages. Her eyes widened, then narrowed into a sneer. You're crazy. You're just overthinking everything. Those messages are nothing, just some work stuff. You're jealous because I'm busy and stressed, that's all." She stepped closer, voice sharper. "You're paranoid like you always are. Jake's just a friend. You think every guy I talk to is after my ass." I clenched my fists. "Just a friend. That's what you say when you're screwing him behind my back. You've been lying to me for months. How long has this been going on?" She rolled her eyes, huffing. "Oh, please, Mike, you're so insecure. If I wanted to cheat, I'd do it with someone better, not some guy I barely even like. You're always accusing me of stuff. Maybe you're the one with the problem." That was the moment I realized she was going to spin this into a me versus her thing, make me look like the crazy, jealous husband. But I wasn't about to let her get away with it. I told her I'd seen enough, that I was done talking. I felt numb, like a switch had flipped inside me, part hurt, part rage. How could she lie so effortlessly? What did I do wrong? Why did she think she could get away with this? The thing that cut the deepest was the look in her eyes. She didn't seem sorry. Instead, she was angry that I'd caught her. And that made me realize something. This wasn't just a fling to her. Lisa had been planning this for months, probably even longer. She was willing to throw everything away just to have her affair. I felt sick. I wanted to break something, to scream, to do anything but stand there helpless. But I knew I had to keep my cool, at least for now. I needed a plan. I had to figure out what to do next, and I knew it wasn't going to be easy. After confronting her, the house felt colder, emptier. Lisa's face was a mix of arrogance and contempt. She thought she had the upper hand, that I was just some jealous fool overreacting. But I wasn't going to back down. Not then, not ever. I told her I needed some time to think, and I left the room before I did or said something I'd regret. I stayed up all night, replaying everything in my head. I couldn't believe I'd been played like a damn fool. I started questioning every moment, every word, every glance. How many times had she lied? How many times had I missed the signs? I felt betrayed on a level I'd never experienced before. It was like my whole world was crashing down, and I was helpless to stop it. The next morning, I knew I had to act. I wasn't just going to sit around and let her keep spinning her lies. I needed proof, real proof, to make her admit everything. So I decided to dig further. I remembered her phone was always a little too close, a little too guarded. I managed to sneak into her purse when she was in the shower and found her password. I didn't feel good about invading her privacy, but honestly, at that point, I was desperate. What I found was worse than I imagined. Hidden in her photos was a recent shot of her and Jake at a restaurant, smiles all over their faces. There were receipts from hotels she stayed at, and even a set of pictures she took of herself in a mirror, saying, "Can't wait to see you tonight," in a text overlay. That confirmed what I'd suspected. This wasn't just some one-night stand or a passing flirt. This was something serious, ongoing. They'd been lying to me from the start, playing their little game behind my back. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach all over again. My mind was spinning. How long had she been lying? How could I have missed all the signs? I was furious at myself for being so blind. I kept asking, why? Why would she do this? How could she ruin everything we built? It was all so sudden, so brutal. I thought I knew her, but I was just a fool who trusted the wrong person. I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. I needed to confront her again, but this time with everything out in the open. No more lies, no more hiding. I was done playing nice. I was going to get the truth, even if it shattered me completely. I was hurt beyond words, but something inside me was also burning with determination. I wasn't going to let her destroy what we had without a fight. I just didn't know how bad it was going to get from here. The next day, I decided I couldn't keep pretending everything was normal. I needed to face her head-on, but this time with all the evidence laid out. I sat her down in the living room, trying to steady my voice, though inside I was a mess. She looked annoyed, some kind of smirk already forming, like she knew she was in control. "I found out everything," I said, holding up the screenshots, the hotel receipts, the photos. "You've been lying to me for months. You're cheating on me with Jake." Her eyes widened for a split second, then she rolled her eyes and scoffed. "Oh, grow up, Mike. You're overreacting. That's just some stupid flirtation. You're making it into a big deal because you're insecure. Just leave it alone." I didn't buy her bullshit. Insecure? Seriously. Maybe I am, but I'm also hurt. You've been messing around behind my back, and you think I'm just supposed to pretend it's nothing. She snapped back. "It's none of your business. You're paranoid and jealous because I work hard and I don't have time for your stupid accusations. Jake, just someone I talk to at the trade shows. You're making a mountain out of a molehill." I felt my blood boil. "Trade shows? Yeah, right. You've been sleeping with him, haven't you? You've been lying the entire time. How long has this been going on?" She crossed her arms, sneering. "Like I'd tell you. Maybe it's been a week, maybe months. Who cares? It's not like you're the perfect husband anyway. You're distant, aloof, always working. Maybe you're the one who should be feeling insecure." That hit a nerve. I couldn't believe her audacity to turn it around like she was the victim. I was furious, but I kept my voice steady. "You're trashing our marriage for some guy you barely like, and you expect me to just accept it. How could you do this to us?" She shrugged dismissively. "Whatever, Mike. I don't care what you think. I'll leave if you want. I'm done pretending this is just some mistake. You're not worth it anymore." I stood there, stunned and hurt, watching her storm out of the room. My mind was racing, angry, betrayed, shattered. I couldn't believe she'd been lying this entire time, that she'd been with someone else, that she'd thrown everything away for some fleeting excitement. I realized then that my entire life with her was a lie, that I'd been a fool to trust her. But I also knew I couldn't go back. I had to decide what was next, and deep down, I knew the pain wasn't over yet. Not even close. That night was like living in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. I stayed up staring at the ceiling, replaying everything, her lies, her smirk, those damn photos. The betrayal cut so deep I felt like I was bleeding inside. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Jake, laughed at how stupid I had been to trust her, to believe we had something worth fighting for. I knew I couldn't just let this slide. I needed a plan. I couldn't let her walk all over me after what she did. I started thinking about how to make her regret it, how to punish her, and most of all, how to take back some control over my life. That's when I remembered the trade show footage I'd seen during a different incident, some unrelated security check at the conference center. I'd always suspected she was sneaking around there, and it was confirmed when I saw her leaving with Jake last week. I waited until the next morning when she was still in bed, furious and exhausted from trying to process everything. I quietly got on my laptop and started digging through the conference security footage I'd found. I had no idea if I could get my hands on it, but what I did know was that the footage clearly showed her sneaking into the conference center, meeting Jake in a back room, and then leaving together. It was all there, proof undeniable. Once I had it, I didn't waste another second. I printed out the footage, saved it on a USB drive, and made a copy. I needed to be ready for what came next. I wasn't going to just threaten her or call her out. I wanted her to see I wasn't helpless. If she thought she could cheat on me and get away with it, she had another thing coming. I also contacted a private investigator I found online, someone who specialized in infidelity cases. I paid to have her watched to get more evidence and to make sure this wasn't some kind of setup. My plan was to confront her again, but this time, armed with all the evidence I could find. I wanted her to understand she'd crossed a line, that I had the power now not just to leave but to expose her lies to everyone. I knew it was risky, but I didn't care anymore. I was done being the fool. I was done feeling small, humiliated, and broken. It was time to take control, even if it meant burning everything to the ground. I could feel the rage building inside me, and honestly, part of me relished the idea of her finally seeing what she'd lost, and that I wouldn't be the sucker anymore. The day I finally decided to show her everything, I felt a strange mix of relief and anger. I set up a quiet room, laid out the USB drive with all the conference footage, the pictures, the receipts, everything I'd gathered. She was still in bed when I called her to come into the living room, her eyes narrowing suspiciously as she saw the look on my face. I didn't beat around the bush. I pressed play on the footage, and there it was, her sneaking into the conference center, her meeting Jake behind closed doors, their smiles, the way she leaned into him, careless and confident. The proof was irrefutable. Her face drained of color as she watched herself on the screen, caught red-handed. She stammered, trying every excuse. "It's not what you think. It's just business. You're overreacting," but none of it mattered. I had her dead to rights. I told her I was done, that I wanted nothing more to do with her after all the lies and betrayal. I told her she had to leave, that her place was no longer here in the life we built. She argued, yelled, even cried, but I felt nothing but cold fury. I saw her for what she really was, a selfish, manipulative woman who thought she could have her cake and eat it too. A few hours later, she packed her bags and left, but the damage was done. I felt a strange weight lift from my shoulders, but in its place, a deep ache that wouldn't go away. I realized how much I'd trusted her, how much I'd given, and now I had to start over. I knew I'd need time to heal, to rebuild my life from the ruins of this betrayal. Looking back, I've learned that trust is fragile, and sometimes people show you who they really are only when it's too late. No one deserves to be lied to and cheated on, especially by someone they thought loved them. If you're going through something similar, my advice is this: pay attention to the signs, don't ignore your instincts, and never let anyone make you feel like you're overreacting when your feelings are valid. Trust is precious, and once it's broken, regaining it is almost impossible. I don't know what the future holds now, but I do know one thing: my self-respect comes first. I'll rebuild, I'll move on. And I hope, if anyone reads this and finds themselves in the same situation, they'll remember, You deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. Don't settle for less. Better days are ahead, even if they come after the storm.